Y'all ready?
Fish Stripes live on a Monday evening, the first day of NBA free agency and the second series of the dreaded post-deadline era for the Miami Marlins. What's going on, everybody? I'm Ethan Budowsky. Isaac Azud is joining me, Kevin Barral, Alex Carver. Noah Berger is somewhere in there, I believe. He will be joining us as usual, and Eli Sussman, as always, is behind the scenes making this thing all work. So, obviously, the Marlins, a tough series right out of the break. They run into the Yankees with all their new pretty acquisitions in Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo. And Anthony Rizzo, the former Cub, basically sweeps the Marlins by himself. Seemed like he came up with all the big hits in that series, made a big play to prevent a run in the bottom of it was either the 8th or the 9th on Sunday. He was just spectacular all weekend. And then obviously they debut this new Murderers Row lineup of Gallo, Judge, Stanton, and Rizzo, which is just crazy. And the Marlins just were no match for the Yankees at the end of the day. That's as simple as it was. A dazzling performance from Sandy Alcantara on Sunday. So I guess we'll just start there. Don't necessarily have to go into the series. The series was what it was. But Isaac, I just want to talk to you about Sandy and, just where he's at in his development right now, the pitcher he's become.
I think we're past development. This guy is just showing what he's shown all year. He's just the cojones to go against one of the best lineups he's ever faced. He showed that last year in the playoff clinching game in New York. Sandy keeping the Yankees off balance, striking out 10. And just, keeping the Marlins in it, shutting them out through 7 innings. It was a beautiful performance. It was a gutsy performance. And it was his second start since, the passing of his mother. And he just looked really good, man. And I really hope that the Marlins do the right thing and sign him very soon because he is by far the best pitcher on the team, maybe the best player. And, he showed that yesterday.
He needs a better insurance policy, though.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it was just like, it's been the same story all year with him where he just can't get any run support. And the Marlins, again, I think they only pushed 1 run across yesterday, and it was in the first inning on an RBI ground out by Brian Anderson. And it's just like, what does this guy have to do? He goes out 7 innings. I think he leads the majors in innings. There was that stat that Eli put out that he's got like 13 starts of 13 of his 21 starts or something, or 6 innings or more. And it's like him and Walker Buehler are tied for that lead or something. He is becoming slowly one of the best pitchers in the National League, maybe across baseball. And his development has just been incredible from what we saw, where we were worried about his ability to miss bats and his control and the walks. And all of a sudden, I mean, I think it was 2 hits and or 1 walk last night or something like that. It was just incredible. So, again, like I said, we don't really have to go into that series too much, but I think Isaac pretty much said it on Sandy. But, going forward, like Alex, this is obviously an option the Marlins have to explore, is locking up Sandy long-term this offseason, right?
Yeah, obviously the longer you wait, the more trouble you're going to run into with you lose years of control, you're going to lose control over signing that player a little bit more. So, yeah, I think it's getting to the point where he has I think 2 or 3 years of control left. I think 3 coming up on 2. I think that's right. Maybe I'm wrong, but on the numbers. But yeah, like I said, the longer you wait to get it done, you're running into issues. So for sure, I think this offseason, maybe not has to be done by this offseason, but it's got to be a serious factor. I think that with the new money in now, that's where you should go with it. I really don't think they're serious about Brian Anderson. Personally, if you ask me, that's just what I think. So the money should definitely go to Sandy Alcantara first. I mean, even if they are serious about Anderson, I think Sandy's the one you got to get done first, because that guy has proven he's belong here. And like Isaac said, he's the ace of the staff, and like just go out and against that brand new lineup and kill it. Like you don't see that from a lot of pitchers. So yeah, I definitely think that with this new money, that's where it should go.
And there's that stat Eli put up there: 17 starts of 6+ innings or more, tied for second most in the major leagues. Walker Buehler has 20 actually. So he's just been great all year. And I think he obviously before the year he said, he wants to hit 200 innings, and he's well on his way to getting that stat. I'm trying to look it up here and see if he's among the leaders in innings pitched. But Kevin, I want to go to you. The Marlins kind of have a chance to get him cheap, don't you think? Like I heard, one price rumored out there was 5 years, $50 million, and I'm looking at that and I'm saying, take that and run. That's kind of the Braves locked up Acuna at 10 years, $100 million, and look how good that deal looks for them. So wouldn't you think that if they're going to jump on it, you want to jump on it right now?
Yeah, you got to get him for the price that you always want the lower price, just kind of a low ball just to get him back here. And if that's the rumor, 5 years, 50 mil, you take it because that's a really good deal for, the ace of this team, the best pitcher on the team right now, the guy who I think you could trust in any spot in the game. This is the guy that I think the Marlins have to take him whenever they can, man. And Sandy's one hell of a pitcher. If he had an insurance policy that last game, that would have been maybe the best game of the season, I would say, for him, because he was just shutting players out in that Yankees game.
Even from the home run porch, you could tell that Sandy was locked in.
Yeah, he was locked
the
in.
entire time. You could just see it on his face.
And
the
don't forget,
entire time he was locked in. I think he wanted to go another inning.
And don't forget that there was that start he had in St. Louis where he goes 9 innings and gets walked off on because he threw a complete game and got walked off on because the Marlins didn't give him any run support, and he had to be basically perfect. He would have had to be basically perfect in order to win that game, and it's just been the story all year. But yeah, Kevin, you wrote this in the chat, but 132.2 innings for Sandy this year. It's tied for 4th with Adam Wainwright, which is crazy. That guy's a horse that he's still pitching 130 innings at this point in his career. And Sandy has 15 quality starts this season. He is tied for 3rd with Zach Wheeler, Herman Marquez, and Brandon Woodruff in the major leagues. He's just been incredible all year. And I think now would be definitely the time to kind of lock him up. And I think it would make a good statement for the Marlins just about, where they are, that they're ready to lock up some of their pieces and assure that their core is going to be here for a long time. And, that kind of transitions into, I just kind of want to go over the deadline and just kind of recap, what happened. So obviously I think on the last stream, we kind of all talked the trades through and talked each individual trade through. But now that you've had some time to kind of settle it all down, look at it from a big picture, look at everything that happened and everything that didn't happen as well. And we'll get into talking specifically about, would you have done this? Would you have done that? But Isaac, just overall, when you look back at the trade deadline, just your impressions, where it leaves you looking at the overall picture in the Marlins and how confident you feel about this organization going forward.
Well, I think this deadline, they sort of lacked that big move that we were all talking about, that we all thought that they were going to make, for a center fielder. We'll see Luzardo tonight, who's, the biggest trade of the deadline. We'll see how he does for 2 months of Marte. That's, a slam dunk trade, in my opinion. I think that's a consensus around baseball. Even Ken Rosenthal went on the broadcast yesterday and said, that was a great trade. He was very surprised that the Athletics got rid of Luzardo so quick. Now, the Duvall trade, I'm not a fan of that one at all. We'll see Alex Jackson starting at catcher today. So, we'll get to see him. And, there's a couple other small trades, Curtis and Yimi Garcia for De La Cruz. De La Cruz has looked good, but it all depends on how they do this offseason. We're going to see. We're going to talk about that, Meyer for Marsh, rumor.
I definitely want to get into that, but
it was I graded them a C-, I think, last stream, and that's where I'll stick with it. But now it matters this offseason because there's no waiver deadline this year, so it's all about the winter. So they're gonna have to do something.
Yeah, I kind of soured on that Duvall trade a little bit, but I think the good takeaway from the 2 catcher trades is that they don't look at these as their long-term options at catcher, the Marlins. The front office is kind of looking at this as depth options. They see Jackson as a backup catcher long-term. They see Henry as a backup catcher long-term. Maybe he surprises them. So I think that they're still going to be aggressive in going out and trying to find the catcher, their number 1 catcher in the offseason. I think we all know that they're going to move on from Jorge Alfaro in the offseason. So, Alex, when you take a look at that, just some of the things that didn't happen give you, in a way, kind of give you more confidence after seeing, I think a lot of people kind of soured on what the Marlins were doing when they didn't extend Starling Marte, but has there been some more confidence instilled in the regime's plans for you?
Yeah, I would say about the same, honestly, as before. It sucks to see them not make the move when I talked about this last show, and Isaac said it as well, that they lose a little bit of leverage. I mean, yes, it's good to gain your footing. And Kim Ang said this, that, with what they talked about with other teams, that they think they're in a good position going into the offseason, and that's fine. But, maybe something happens, somewhere down the line with one of these prospects that they were talking about, or one of these players, they get higher or lower on a guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So hopefully it works out and we can get a similar deal as the one that we were looking at. I'd really not like to have to give up Max Meyer, but
me too.
I mean, that is what it is. You have to give up value to get value. And if the Marlins are that high on Brandon Marsh, then they do it. So I think they do lose a little leverage. We talked about that in the offseason. Hopefully these guys all stay healthy. Hopefully Meyer keeps going and stays effective. And the rest of these prospects that we're maybe talked about, Eater and Nicholas and McCamley, and guys that we all heard the names. So hopefully they stay well. Their development continues to go well, and we can get a similar deal in the offseason. In terms of what they did do, I agree with everything that Isaac said. The Luzardo trade is massive. Really looking forward to seeing him tonight. I was excited that he's going to start with the major league team, because why not? I mean, I would have been okay with it either way, honestly. Like, he starts in AAA, works it out a little bit, and then comes up. That would have been okay. But, man, in the off season, get him with Mel right away, see what he's got out of the gate. If he struggles, he struggles. Who cares? You know what I mean? It wouldn't be the end of the world. But, yeah, to answer the question, Ethan, I'm pretty much at the same level of confidence in Kim Ang and Derek Jeter as I was before.
No, I want to go to you because you're our eternal optimist here. You're our constantly loving, it's hard. No, these last 2 months are going to be hard for Marlins fans, but I'm just curious with you, when you look at what they did overall and the ideas that they came up with at the deadline that may not have come to fruition for, X amount of factors. But when you just kind of look at the intentions that they had at the deadline and the moves that they did make at the deadline, what were your overall thoughts from that, hardcore, diehard fan perspective?
I was sad to see Marte go.
Of course.
I was pissed off to see Duvall traded to the Braves. I would have been okay if he had gone somewhere else, but because it was the Braves, it hit a little harder.
Caught us off guard too, I think. Everybody was kind of surprised by that.
Guard. I feel bad. I feel most bad for Craig Mish because he was hung out to dry.
I will say though that to be fair to him, Kim Ang said we didn't want to trade with the Braves. She made that clear that wasn't her first option, but we all know that Duvall likely wasn't going to be here, so they kind of had to get something, and they saw that as best. So
I was excited to see Brian De La Cruz's first hit last night. He looked good in right field because that was basically all that I could see from there. I was too scared I was going to fall off the home run porch. I'm a little surprised they sent Brian Miller back down.
I want to get into that later, but
I think they should have sent Alfaro down. That's just me. But I do like some of the acquisitions we made. I really hope Alex Jackson just proves everybody wrong and rakes. And I'm hoping if he has a passed ball tonight, I'm going to be like, darn it. Even one, I'm just going to be like, duh.
Yeah, no, that can't be happening, especially with the defensive, liability that Alfaro has been. We need somebody to the Marlins need somebody to just kind of come in.
Yesterday it wasn't even Alfaro that had the defensive miscues. We lost that game because the Yankees caught our infield napping.
Yeah, that was Jazz. Jazz, when you talk about that play in the ninth inning, just kind of was trying to do too much, and I think BA was trying to do too much, and I think that guys are just kind of pressing. It could be that Don Mattingly, the all-calming voice isn't there, and it could also be that they're struggling and guys are doing too much, and it can be in all kind of combinations of factors. But I just thought that when you look at the defensive mistakes that were uncharacteristic of BA, who's a Gold Glove finalist, and Jazz, who's I think is a above average defender currently and certainly can be a very good one going forward. I kind of think that was just uncharacteristic and just, trying to do too much. But Kevin,
I think it's because we don't have bones anymore.
I want to go to you, Kevin, with some trade deadline talk. Noah touched on De La Cruz, and I just want to get your first impressions of him, what you saw. I was there on Friday night. He makes this great running catch in the gap. So I kind of want to see, hear your guys' first impressions. And Kevin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this guy seems like he's going to help out the team right now. I mean, there's not much more to play for, so keeping him up here makes sense. I have no idea why Brian Miller went back down to AAA. Didn't make sense. I would have kept him up a little longer. I don't think you want Louis Brinson or Magneuris Sierra up there playing in the outfield, but whatever. I mean, they got to have a reason for that. Now, Brian De La Cruz looks good. It looks like he could really get heating up. He could heat up. Got his first hit yesterday. This guy could be something good for the Marlins. I think this guy's going to help out the team. Maybe in 2022 if the season's bad, but I know Isaac was in the spaces. You heard that championship window is there for 2022. They're going to try to win. So we'll see what they do with De La Cruz. Maybe he turns out to be a bench option, replaces Brinson or someone there in that bench. But seems like a cool guy. Seems like he's going to get it going with the Marlins, and he's going to get the biggest opportunity he has right now. There's barely any outfielders that are good enough to play. So he's going to get that good opportunity, and he hasn't played MLB baseball until he gets to Miami. So good first impression as of now.
Yeah, I'm just happy the Marlins are going to give guys looks. I want to see them get looks. That's why I'm so disappointed that Brian Miller gets sent down, because that first game he works a 13 pitch at bat. He gets a base hit. Like he looked the part, and maybe he doesn't have the power that projects him as a, everyday major league outfielder. But, they talked about, Mish wrote in his article, and, he's talked about on the Spaces and the podcast and stuff, that they kind of see him as a fourth outfielder long term. And I think that if he's a fourth outfielder, that's obviously better depth than what they have now. And I think it's just a good depth piece. And these last 2 months are going to be, basically tryouts for a lot of guys, for De La Cruz, for Alex Jackson. We thought Brian Miller. We'll see if Bryson Brigman gets a shot, hopefully, I don't know where he would start. He's not going to get every day at bats, but you want to Rule 5 protect him, and because you don't want him to go away, and maybe he can be, your utility guy off the bench. So, Alex, you're our minor league guy, of course. Brian Miller, we know you're all disappointed about that one. You're in the dumps about it. And then De La Cruz, what you saw from him and what you liked from him.
Yeah, don't get me started, Ethan, on the Brian Miller thing. Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, that's horrible. I'll say it flat out, man. That's terrible roster management. Like, I understand that, he's Rule 5 protected. That's good. That's the good news. Like, he'll be on the team next year. Cool. But what does it say to this player that he's grinded it out for 5 years to get here? He plays great from what I saw in his first couple of looks that he got, especially at the plate. And then you get sent down because why? It just paints a bad picture, man. For player and team relations, I guess I would say that he can't stick. I don't understand it. There's multiple guys that could have gone down before him. He is a fourth outfielder. That is probably his ceiling. The Marlins know that. Brian himself probably knows that. But that's a role that he can embrace and be great in, man. And the fact that he's going back down after 3 at-bats is tough.
And I was kind of disappointed that he wasn't in the lineup the next 2 nights. I thought that I wanted to get a look at him. We've been calling, you and I, Alex, have been calling for a look at him for a long time. And I just kind of thought that was a really good chance to get a look at him. So, Isaac, you're the same kind of baseball analysis guy. I love your baseball analysis. So I want to get your analysis on the ABs that you saw from these guys. Obviously, Miller, goes down and he has this 13 pitch at bat. That was amazing. Just kept fouling pitches off. I think he fouled off like 9 pitches or something. So your overall impressions so far after the deadline?
So I'll start with Brian Miller, I guess. Miller, basically what the scouting report says, bats to ball skills, phenomenal, has speed. I'm with Alex, heavy, if not more. I cannot believe that he's the one that they chose to send down. As soon as Marte's traded, we say, okay, Sierra will be getting, that day center field starting job. And it's been only Sierra every single day. And you have nothing to lose by giving Miller the shot for the next 2 months. And instead they sent him down, which, just doesn't look great. Probably doesn't make him feel great either after, having one start, going 1 for 3. having a 103-mile-an-hour piss missile in a right field for a base hit against the Yankees. I would have started him the next 2 days, like you said. So that one's a little tough. And then Brian De La Cruz has looked really nice as well. I think we've seen a lot of him this weekend. And I think his at-bats were phenomenal. I think, he has fringy speed, which, makes sense. But, he looked good. He knows how to make the best of it. So that was good to see. I think he has the power. But every single at-bat that he had was phenomenal. Even against Chapman, I think he had an at-bat where, he stood in there. And it was great. That at-bat with Sierra against Chapman, man, Chapman did not have to throw a ball near the plate. Yeah, and I think Miller would have had a much better at-bat. And it's a shame that instead of rolling out not only Brinson, not only Sierra, but Isan Diaz as well, when all three of those guys, one of those three could have been sent down instead of Miller. But yeah, here we are. So, but yeah, all positive on those two players for sure.
We know that the roster construction has been so weird recently. You know, they've been having to send pitchers up and down to get innings because so many of their pitchers are hurt. And, Cody Poteet is going in Jacksonville, I think tonight, right, Alex? So that's a good start for the Marlins to get tomorrow. Sorry, minor league is off today. Today's Monday, but Luzardo starts tonight, and I just think that at some point you got to settle the roster down, and obviously the pitcher injuries have hurt them, so they haven't been able to settle the roster down. But it's time to get a look at a Brian Miller, a Bryson Brigman. Some of these guys. Obviously, Lewin is blocked right now. That there's really nothing the Marlins can do about that. You want Aguilar around, but you can't play him anywhere else. You don't want to play him at third base. You don't really want to split starts with it's. I just don't know. So. I don't know how they handle that one, but it's getting frustrating for sure, the roster construction where, Sierra gets his millionth chance. And I'm not really one to harp on Brinson. I think Brinson brings a little more potential at the plate because at least we've seen him be able to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And he has had a better offensive year than we've seen from him in the past. So, I think he's actually been pretty good for what he is, and so I'm not that mad about them keeping him over Miller, but Sierra and Diaz, and it's just enough already. Give the fans something more to appreciate. Get a look at a guy, and so yeah, it is getting a little frustrating that they just keep hanging on to these guys that we kind of know what they are at this point. And so
the difference between them and the Rays, man. The Rays, one bad year will get you shipped. They got rid of Aguilar after an all-star season. They get rid of Aguilar. They get rid of Corey Dickerson after one bad season. They are willing to move. And guys like Brinson, I get it, but I think if we drafted one of these guys number 1 overall, he would have been shipped already. But I don't know why. It's because he was a Yelich trade recipient guy. We're not gonna we're gonna give him, I think, 2,000 plate appearances before we get rid of him, which sucks. It's scary, but
yeah, and they have said that next year, Mish believes, and it's starting to seem like next year, Jeter, when you talk to him, really is starting to seem impatient, and I can't imagine that Derek Jeter is going to accept losing for too long. I've said this before, but if next year is really the year, you got to start getting cutthroat with some of these guys. You really do have to start getting cutthroat with, and just let a Brinson, a Sierra, whoever move on, because they're not contributing to winning baseball, and they're just kind of holding, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and or 1 step forward, 2 steps back, I guess is the saying, but you know what I mean? It's just stop hanging on to these guys. There's no reason to hang on to them. But let's go forward and start looking forward. And what I want to talk about next is the guy that we're going to see tonight. We're going to get a first impression of him. I think we're all super excited about it. Marlins fans should be super excited about it because we all know what the Marlins can do with young pitching, and now here comes one of the best young pitching prospects. Whether he's had a rough start to his career or not, he was one of the hottest pitching prospects, undeniably, coming up through the minor league ranks. So, Kevin, I'm going to start with you. What is a good start for Jesus Luzardo tonight? When you look at the struggles he had this year, what do you want to see from him? Do you want to just see stuff, or do you want to see results?
I think we could see a little bit of both. I mean, personally, I want to see him at least go 5 innings. If he allows maybe a run or 2, it's okay. But, I mean, the Marlins have to give the man run support. That's been the issue with, I guess, all of the Marlins pitchers this year. They choose a new pitcher to not give run support every time. I mean, at the start it was Pablo. Then they said, all right, let's give him some run support and let's just fuck up Sandy. All right, Sandy doesn't get any run support. We saw yesterday, and we saw the insurance. He didn't get any insurance either yesterday. So You know, the more if Luzardo goes out here and just dominates, and it's the Mets, they have Javier Baez now, so this is gonna be a crazy game. So as long as he goes out there and he just puts out some stuff and gets 5 innings in there at least, and maybe allows 1 or 2 runs, that'll be a good start for Luzardo, and it's something to look at and just keep going forward with. This guy's gonna be one hell of a pitcher for the Marlins.
Yeah, to add to that, there's 3 lefties on the team, so that might help him out a little bit. But I'm looking at his minor league stats, and the guy he's a strikeout machine for the most part. I know in his major league career, struggled a little bit, 4.79 ERA through 109 innings pitched, but he struck out more than innings pitched, 115 versus 109, and then in the minor leagues, 260 innings, 260 strikeouts, and 224 innings pitched. So the guy's gonna get the strikeouts. He's got the stuff for it. It's just all about harnessing it and locating, because he gives up some home runs in the big league level, but I think he's going to be really good here.
Yeah, Alex, for those that don't know, you're our minor league guy, obviously. So what should they expect from Luzardo, based off what you know about him and what you've kind of seen? Obviously, I think it's fastball, sinker, slider, change. Is there a curveball in there? So what should we expect from him? What kind of pitcher are we looking at here?
Yeah, it's most of the pitches that you said, Ethan. It's fastball, sinker, and then he's got slider, changeup. Does have a curveball. Haven't seen it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The staple is the fastball, slider. That's what he lives on, and then he'll mix in his other pitches. What you've wanted to see from him, just looking back at some of his minor league games, I was rewatching some of them with Las Vegas this year. His last 2 starts have been really good, and that's what you want to see him build off of. I talked about this a couple times already here and other places about repeatability. I think he's definitely looked a lot better in that regard in his last 2 starts, and the stats have proved it. It's just about, as Isaac said, holding on to his levers, repeating his release point. Sometimes he gets a little bit lower, sometimes he gets a little bit higher, and he can do that on certain pitches. So, that's where you got to be afraid of tipping, and that's when he's going to give those home runs, like Isaac said. So, yeah, if he can repeat more, hit the same arm slot with all of his pitches, the effort is pretty repeatable. He throws all of his stuff with the same effort. But it's just hitting those mechanical points that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. The push off from the back foot. He kind of stumbles off. He'll kind of turn his heel a little bit at times from what I saw when he was struggling. Whereas now he's a lot more downhill. The release point's there. It looks a lot better these last 2 starts. Can he continue it? That's what you want to see happen. But yeah, man. And then for further incorporation of the changeup, because the changeup, man, like he'll go times where he can definitely spot it, but then it'll just go way out of whack and you could spike it or hit a guy or whatever because of those struggles with the mechanics. So it's a mechanical issue for him, I think, personally, watching his stuff. But man, if he could build off his last 2 starts, this is the guy I've seen pitch in competitive baseball environments from high school to the minor leagues to the major leagues since his junior year. And man, if he can figure out just a couple things, he's going to be really good.
Well, I see you got the hat on, Alex. And for those of you that don't know, Jesus Luzardo is a South Florida boy. He went to Stoneman Douglas High School, same high school as Anthony Rizzo, and obviously a great baseball program there. And just imagine the jitters from pitching, for your hometown team, and how exciting that must be for him. So I think it should be an exciting night. Now, Noah, let me bring you in here, man. Just the excitement. Say again.
Just a comment on that real quick, Ethan, just real fast. I was looking back at his major league, like where he's pitched. The closest he's pitched to South Florida was Baltimore, and then all of his other starts were like Texas and further west. So it'll be cool to see how many family members and maybe old teammates he has out at the park tonight.
They probably will have a whole section there.
Hopefully.
I just want to quickly take us all back to Friday when we were talking about Jesus Luzardo, and I pointed out that I think he was that probably the only reason he wasn't on the active roster is because they were doing roster juggling and all that, and I thought he was going to start after the series. So I just want to quickly just do a victory lap there. You guys know how I am with my predictions. They're all terrible. When I get one right, I just want to make sure we harp on it. Just take a second. Okay, we're good. I'm very excited to see him pitch tonight. I'm very excited. I was thinking about going today, but they announced it a little too late, and I went yesterday, and I'm going tomorrow, so it's a little too much.
Skipping him right now. Going right, sandwiched right in between them.
They got me the worst time. But yeah, I'm excited to see him pitch tonight. I'm really, really hoping he pitches well, because it'll be very fun to watch.
temper your expectations for a bit, Noah, because I know,
Never.
everybody wants to see him go 7 innings and strike out 10 and whatever. What should be a realistic expectation for him tonight?
Just realistically, just on the outside edge of a quality start.
Okay. So
Exactly what I was gonna say.
about
I
5
think,
innings.
Yeah, I think Kevin said it perfectly. I think 5 innings, 3 runs or less. Yeah, that's a win.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's not going to go 27 up, 27 down, but 5 innings.
But if he does,
Yeah, it would be if
That'd
he
be fun.
puts together some incredible start, obviously I think it would get a lot of fans juiced and just create some excitement for the next time he pitches and stuff. But we have to be realistic. He has struggled at the big league level, and I think the Marlins kind of look at him as a project, as a guy that they can kind of make into a reclamation project, and nobody better to do it than Mel Stottlemyre Jr. That's why, like Alex mentioned, I'm so excited that he's going to be up here at the big league level with the club, because he should be working with Mel Stottlemyre Jr. directly. Because if his changeup is going to be the difference maker for him, who can teach a changeup that we've seen better than Mel Stottlemyre Jr.? Look what he did with Sandy. Look what he did with Trevor's changeup. Look what he's done with Pablo's changeup. Going back to Trevor Richards' changeup. You know what I mean? There are some nasty changeups in this Marlins organization. And I think if that pitch could be a difference maker for Luzardo, then I feel pretty confident that, Mel Stottlemyre Jr. is going to be able to help him develop that. So, that's going to be big for him. And I'm excited to watch his development. I think for me, the thing I'm looking out, I want to see him get better.
Froze for a second.
And kind of, sorry, am I spotty? I can't tell. My internet
Yeah,
is
go back like 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
All right, let me head out for a second, reset my internet.
No, you're good. No.
Oh,
Technical difficulties.
sorry about that, guys.
That's what happens. when you're
I'll
live.
be at the game today. I'll be able to I'll tweet out as much as I can. I'll put some video out there for you guys who don't follow me, Isaac Azoot. And I'll be sitting somewhat close, so hopefully Luzardo will put up a good start for sure.
This is one of the only nights of the season where I have my own social life, and I'm doing something non-baseball related tonight. So I'm not going to see any of the game live. Too bad.
No, I don't believe you.
So I will rely on you guys, and I'll retweet everybody else on the timeline, but it won't be much insight coming from Fish Stripes directly, unfortunately.
Not baseball related, but Kyle Lowry is a Miami Heat now, and Duncan Robinson's back. So
Yeah.
it's a good day.
NBA free agency updates from Kevin. Sorry, guys, I am back. But the thing that I was saying, with Luzardo is just continuously see him improve. If he goes 5 innings tonight, try and see him go 6 innings. Kind of work his way up and just get better. Obviously, I think the stuff is going to look really good. We know he's got a big breaker, and high 90s for a lefty is just nasty. I think he's got pretty similar stuff to Trevor, except he throws a little more variety of pitches. Obviously, he throws a sinker. Trevor kind of phased out the sinker because it wasn't really working for him early on. So, I'm just excited to see this kid pitch because I heard so much about him, and he pitched in Oakland, so I never really got to see him. So I'm just excited to see him pitch and obviously, see, if anything, what the Marlins have done with him in the first few days that he's been in. The other thing is Alex Jackson is also making his debut tonight for the Marlins.
Take a timeout. Now that we pinned that, he's gonna let up a hit on the first at bat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's going to get homered on the first pitch of the game. He's giving up a homer on the first pitch of the game just because of that comment in the chat just now. So, good job to whoever wrote that comment. You just jinxed him into a home run on the first pitch of the game. But obviously, I guess we kind of touched on it, and I want to go backwards because we didn't really wrap up our trade deadline talk. And Isaac touched on this a little bit, so I want to go through this with everybody because I think this was Isaac. I see you shaking your head. There's a lot of good discussion to be had here, and it's about what the Marlins didn't do at the deadline. So obviously, we kind of brushed over the fact that there was this big center field acquisition that was hyped up that the Marlins could possibly make. We all know they need a center fielder of their future, and it seems like they came pretty close. They just couldn't get it over the finish line. And the rumor that came out, the rumor that I heard is that the deal was with the
Angels.
The Angels. I was going to say Oakland. The Angels, the Los Angeles Angels. I was trying to place them in California. The Los Angeles Angels for Brandon Marsh, who is one of their 2 center field prospects So obviously they're not going to give up on Joe Adell. Apparently he is pretty much considered untouchable for them. Pair him with Mike Trout. Seems like that could go pretty well, and Jared Walsh as well. So no Adell, but they go on to Brandon Marsh, and he's having a pretty good year in AAA, and he is a very good hitter. He's got some good hitting numbers, and he's kind of what the Marlins need, but he's struggled in the major leagues so far, and it's been a struggle for him, as it is for a lot of guys. He's been called up. The Angels are going to get a look at him in the back half of this year. We'll also give the Marlins a good chance to get a look at him. And so the rumor was that it was going to be a 1-for-1 swap with the
Angels.
For Max Meyer. I'm sorry, I keep blanking. For Max Meyer. So Brandon Marsh for Max Meyer with the Los Angeles Angels, as Kevin mentioned. And then the Angels kind of said, let's see if we can get some more, and asked for Max and more. And the Marlins said no. So for you guys, Isaac, it would be a risk to take. And I think it would be a risk a lot of people would be willing to take. But what were your thoughts when you see this rumor come out?
All right. So initially, I was right with you. I was like, you know what? That's a lot to give up for a guy of Brandon Marsh's, character, of his stats and everything. But I thought about it. It's just as much of a risk for the Angels as it is for us. Marsh, he's kind of, he's had some major league experience. He has 50 at bats, not hitting too well. But you know what? Mike Trout didn't hit too well through his first half season either. Meyer has not pitched above Double-A, so it's just as big of a risk for them. And we need a center fielder that can run, that can hit, and he's hit throughout his whole minor league career, pretty much. He never had crazy stats, but he's always hit. He's always gotten on base a really good amount. So he would be an upgrade over absolutely anything else we have. He's a surefire center fielder. He runs, and he has good at bats, and he has a little bit of power as well. We don't have that, and so we also have a million starting pitchers that are ready to contribute here. So Max Meyer for Brandon Marsh, in my opinion, would have been fair. And a good trade is when both teams feel they got screwed.
Yep.
And I think both teams would feel that in this sense. It would be a huge risk for them as well. We're all thinking, oh my God, Meyer's a sure thing. We don't know that. We have no idea. And they're thinking the same thing about Marsh. So I think it would have been a very fascinating trade, to say the least. I wish it had gotten done. I know my initial response was, thank God it didn't. But now that I slept on it a few nights, it would have been a defendable trade, to say the least.
I think it would have been something that if I were the Marlins, I would have reluctantly done. I would have said, okay, we have enough pitching depth to back this up. If you make it Jake Eater instead of Max Meyer, maybe I'm saying something different. But the fact that it's Max and he has so much potential, it's tough. It would have been exactly like Gallen for Jazz, except obviously Gallen had been up at the major league level already, and had success there. We haven't seen Max pass Double-A like you mentioned, Isaac. But Kevin, what were your thoughts?
At first you think Max Meyer. This guy's he was correct me if I'm wrong, he was a top 5 pick in the draft. I think even top 3. I think it was the 3rd pick.
Right.
This is one of those guys you say, how we're going to trade him. But when you look at Brandon Marsh, you look at what the Marlins need, it was a fair trade. And you said it, Ethan. If you put Eater instead of Max Meyer, that would have been an even better trade. No one expected Eater to do what he's doing now. So, I like the trade. I think, it's a risk for both sides, as Isaac said. But even though I would have liked Brandon Marsh, I think going after Brian Reynolds or Max Kepler, which Craig has mentioned, I think that's better just because they have major league experience and we've seen what they could do at the major league level. We don't know what Brandon Marsh is going to do. to risk, as you guys said. So you include Max Meyer in any trade for a top tier center fielder like that. So go ahead and do it. But yeah, the Brandon Marsh trade, it would have been a risk. But if it panned out for both sides, kind of like the Jazz and the Gallen trade. But Gallen was already up in major leagues. We saw what he could do. He had success. So yeah, it was a good trade.
It would be more than Meyer though. Unfortunately for Reynolds, it would be 3.
No,
yeah. I know, and we'll get to that in a sec, because that's another one that I really want to discuss and go into, because that seems like a very interesting offseason prospect for the Marlins. Yep. And this could be an interesting offseason prospect as well. Maybe Marsh starts hitting, and the Marlins say, okay, we're ready to do it. Maybe Meyer starts struggling, and the Angels say, okay, we don't need more for Meyer. But right now, the stats on Marsh, only 50 plate appearances. So take this with a huge grain of salt, way more than a grain of salt. 530 OPS, 54 weighted runs created plus. Hasn't gone deep yet. 12% walk rate, 34% K rate. So, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, like I would like to see a bit of a bigger sample on Marsh before, the Marlins move one of their top prospects for him. And that's kind of, I think what the Marlins feeling was. So Alex, you follow, I know you follow Meyer really closely. I know you watch all of his starts, keep up with it, and just, where you stand on what almost happened.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what Isaac said personally. Would it have been a fair trade? Yes. I was looking at Marsh's numbers when Craig first reported it. He's definitely done some work in the patience department. I believe back in 2018 when he was in A-ball between low A and high A, he had like 158 strikeouts that year, which was, I think, his second year in the league. And since then, he struck out 99 times in 2019, and this year he's only struck out 32 times. So that's a guy that doesn't waste at bats. He gets on base. Got a little bit of power as well from what I saw. Speed's pretty good as well, like Isaac said. But to give up Max, man, I know going into the deadline, just from talking to people, that was a guy they really, really didn't want to get rid of. Like, that was the guy, and I think I said this on the show, that was the guy in the minor league system that was just off limits. So for them to have offered him, it says a lot from where they're at on Marsh. Like, they definitely like him. So will that go further in the offseason? I think it could. But man, Max Meyer, that's a guy that he's got a 1.93 ERA right now. And the only reason it's that high is because he had one start at the very beginning of the year, which I think was like his second or third pro start, where he gave up 5 runs. And since then, he's only given up more than 3 runs once. So that's a guy that just goes out and just continues to throw up zeros, man, and strikes guys out. Stuff looks so good, and he just keeps getting better, man. I like how his changeup's coming in. Slider, fastball is already there. It's hitting 95, man, that would be a tough one to swallow, but it would have been fair. Will they go back to it in the offseason? From what they're saying, it sounds like they might, but we'll see, man. Would I have been okay with it? Yes, but I probably would have complained for a little while.
And I do want to mention, I'm sorry, Ethan, but
go ahead.
This trade, this is like something that the Marlins are saying, we're going to try to win now. We're giving up these guys for very good major league players, or in this case it was Brandon Marsh, but we heard Brian Reynolds' name. We've heard possibly Jacob Stallings at some point. We heard it. Wilson Contreras before the start of the season. These are Marlins are willing to give up these top guys to go win now. And we heard what Craig said. They're trying to win now. They're going to try to win in 2022. They thought they could win in 2021. I'm not going to try to quote exactly what he said, but he said something like that. And he said that organization is tired of losing. So they're going to try to make moves. And this winter is going to be huge for the Marlins. You're going to be seeing big time trades from them. And we're not going to see the old puny Jorge Alfaro Marlins. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a different team, I would say.
No, I want to go to you because
I asked Craig specifically that question regarding, are they putting all their eggs in like the 2022 basket? And that's exactly, he said yes. Like there is an immense amount of pressure for them to win this year. There's people that are getting very frustrated, all the way up, from majority owner to small investors. 2022 is a year, so you're going to see a myriad of moves this offseason, no doubt about it.
One thing
I want to go to you. The one thing I want to ask you before you start speaking is just, and I think you're kind of going to go into this, is do you think this says the right thing, that the Marlins were willing to make these moves? Does it instill more confidence in you that they were trying to make these moves, they had these ideas? Does that make you feel better about where they're at heading into 2022?
100,000% it makes me feel better. I right after the deadline, I was like, did they even try? And had they not tried, I would have been like, well, then what are we doing? But the fact that they tried and got denied is different. It says a lot. And when Kim Ng said that when they pretty much confirmed that 2022 is the season they want to start winning. Not that it's the only season they're going to be winning, and then after that we're going to be mediocre again. That's what some people on Twitter are thinking that, and I'm like, guys, no, it means 2020 is when we start winning. I'm really, I honestly, I'm hopeful.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I'm
tired.
I think that
losing.
the tide has kind of shifted on where people, the people I follow that are sometimes negative, that it seems that the tide has kind of shifted in terms of people are starting to feel better about, where the Marlins organization is at because of the deals that they had in mind. And so the other one that I want to go into is the Brian Reynolds. It seems like they made a push for the Pirates outfielder Brian Reynolds. And this one, from what I've heard about the asking price was just kind of crazy. And so it never really seemed like it was it was never really seemed like it was a possibility. They might have wanted major league guys. They might have wanted, some, 3, 4, 5 of their top guys. There was a deal that could have possibly involved Jacob Stallings, so it's kind of crazy where they were trying to go. And the Marlins were kind of trying to possibly kill two birds with one stone by getting Stallings and Reynolds. So obviously, I think this one to a lot of people really says that the Marlins are ready to go all in, and they're excited about this. They're excited. They're looking forward to 2022. So, Isaac, I want to come to you because you've been itching. You've got a trade proposal, I know. So, what do you think would have been a fair offer that the Marlins should have accepted for Brian Reynolds? Because obviously they didn't get one. So when you look at it, you think, okay, a few of the top guys. What do you think would have been a good, push for Reynolds?
Well, what we heard was 3 top Miami guys. I don't think Pittsburgh had any interest in any of the major league guys. So you have to assume they're minor leaguers. So you're gonna have to assume one of Eder or Meyer, one of those two.
Maybe both.
I don't know if it's 3 pitchers. So okay, my proposal would have been Meyer, McCambley, and Nicholas, and then maybe an offensive prospect, maybe like a Meisner, maybe lesser than Meisner, but something like that. That's a lot to give up. That is a colossal package that you're giving to Pittsburgh. But you know what? Brian Reynolds is a hell of a player, and that would have been well worth it, in my opinion.
Alex,
quickly, just want to interject. The Mets just changed their lineup. Kevin Pillar is moving from right field to center field and batting first. Brandon Nimmo is scratched. Brandon Drury will be playing right field and batting 8th.
It's one less lefty for Luzardo to face today.
Brandon Drury, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. My God, I didn't even know he was on the Mets, to be honest with you. And of course, we get to see after Anthony Rizzo comes through, now Javi Baez is coming through in a Mets uniform, which is just cuts
you
through
can't
my
not
soul.
like Javi Baez and Francisco.
Of course, I love Javi Baez. That's the problem. I love Javi Baez, and I don't want to see him in a Mets uniform. But Alex, I want to go to you here because what do you think would have been the right offer for the Marlins to accept for Brian Reynolds after they clearly didn't get one?
Yeah. We could talk about the deadline and where they're at, in terms of winning, which we already went through in depth on this show. But, man, one thing that's not going to change about Jeter or Kim Ng or this Marlins front office is the same message that they've been giving us since they got here. They are absolutely 100% committed to the entirety of this farm system and getting these guys their big league, their shot in the big leagues. And I think that's not changing. So for it to have been 3 of our top 5, that was never going to happen. Like they probably said that, and Kim probably hung up the phone, honestly, because that wasn't going to happen. I'm not the best at like trade proposals. I would say I know everybody loves that baseball trade value website. I never go on that website or anything. I tried to fool around with it once and was just I give up. So, but yeah, if it was going to be something that the Marlins would have accepted, if I'm looking at it from the Pirates standpoint, Ethan, they're not competing for a while. Honestly, right? They're pretty much the beginning of a rebuild. You kind of say that a lot about the Pirates basically every year. But if you want to get them some cornerstone prospects that they can build off of, it would have had to be one of Meyer or Eder, which you said, which I do agree. And then if you're looking at it past that, I would say, guys, one of the guys that Isaac mentioned, maybe McCambley, if you're going to go position, maybe one of the guys in Beloit, Connor Scott or Cam Meisner. And then if you want to go to younger guys, I know this would hurt my buddy Daniel, but a guy that you could include that's off to a terrific start to his professional career is Yuri Perez. Another one could be Jackson Fulton. I know Craig mentioned his name a couple times. He pitches.
What about Justin Twine?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I love how he's becoming a sensation within Marlins Twitter. Shout out to Alex. I know Alex is out there pushing that narrative, and it cracks me up. It's become
But yeah,
Like,
it'll be-
pretty funny, man. I
it
think
would be
Alex
one
is
of
one of the
those-
funniest guys ever.
He's
Yeah,
hilarious.
for-
No, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyways, it would be to answer the question with finalization. It would be
Mhm.
it would be one of those top two guys, one mid-tier guy, and then maybe a couple of those the younger guys like Perez, Fulton, Fitterer, maybe if you want to go to another one. But yeah, and maybe Victor Mesa Jr. if you want to throw in one more name would be another one that they would want. So yeah, just I would say one or two right now guys, definitely one right now guy, one mid-tier guy, and then a couple of younger guys. I would think it would be like a 4-for-1, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where this goes in the offseason because this definitely seems like a great deal to make in the offseason for the Marlins, where I think you could maybe get him a little cheaper, to be honest with you. And I just think that's a good aggressive move, especially if you try and get them to, attach Stallings and then you really get aggressive. And that could really be a blockbuster. That could really be fun. Marlins trying to fill their two biggest needs with one stone. And, the Pirates have two good players at their two biggest positions of need. So it's a reasonable trade partner for the Marlins. And at some point, you got to give value to get value, and Jeter has echoed that. He said that. He said this has been a disappointment. We're going to be focused on making the team better. The trade deadline is an arbitrary deadline. Kim and Jeter both said on Friday, this doesn't mean our work is done. It seems like a big offseason is coming in Miami.
It's only just begun.
It has only just begun. And this series is only just about to begin. And I even forget that there is a series going on. But I guess we should talk about it a little bit because obviously we see Luzardo tonight. Mets are in town for 4. This is not the series where they have the doubleheader. That's the series at the end of the month, I believe. That's when they go back to New York. So let's look. I'm looking for the probables here. Luzardo and McGill. I don't know who that is, to be honest with you. The Marlins don't have an announced starter for tomorrow. Taijuan Walker goes tomorrow for the Mets. On Wednesday, it's Zach Thompson and Cookie Carrasco. That should be a good matchup. And then two
Trevor's
lefties on getaway day. Yes, at 12:10 getaway day. That sounds like a camp day. 12:10 on a Thursday in the summer. Yeah, that sounds like camp day. So Rogers and Rich Hill is the matchup before the Marlins head out to Colorado for 3 with the Rockies, and then they go to the Pirates or the Padres. So a West Coast trip here before they come back to town for the Cubbies. So predictions. What obviously I think you guys want to see more from De La Cruz. Maybe hopefully Brian Miller comes back. That would be great. But I think we're all kind of focused on Luzardo tonight. That's where we all really want to see. So let's just go around the room and just a prediction and something that you're looking for. Noah, I'll start with you.
I'm gonna go with 3. I'm gonna go with the Marlins taking 3. Just because I know no one else is gonna do it, so someone's got to do it. But I will not go with sweep. So they're gonna take the game tomorrow. Mets are for sure taking the game tomorrow if we're going with the bullpen day. Just seeing with how our bullpen's been lately. I think we're gonna go 3-1. Okay. Eli, I'm really hoping to see Luzardo shove. I'm excited to see Trevor on. I'm excited to see Trevor on Thursday. I'm just getting distracted. Sorry.
3-1, really. That's
3-1,
what you're
really.
going with, though. At this point in the season,
Listen,
you're ready to put your name on the line. Your journalistic credibility on the line for that one.
Come on, I've
Isaac.
been on the Mags hype train. You think I'm not already in the dumpster? Come on,
Isaac. Let's go to you, man. Your prediction for this.
I think conservatively, we got to expect Luzardo to have some jitters today. Back in South Florida, he's gonna have a lot of family and friends in the ballpark. I think he'll pitch well, but I think he's gonna walk a few, give up, little hard hit balls. I think they win on Thursday. I think they win on Wednesday as well. So I say we split the series.
Alex.
Yeah, I'll go optimistic and go with Isaac and say that we split, but I could easily see it going 1-3. But Yeah, my optimistic approach will be 2-2. I want to see exactly what Isaac said. 100% agreed. I want to see this kid compete, man. I want to see him in the game the whole way. If he goes 5-6 innings, that's a huge boost. Less than 3 runs, definitely huge. Keep the walks down will be another win. So yeah, just looking for a quality outing. If it's not a quality start, it's not a quality start. But man, anything over 5 innings, I'm happy. Less than 3 earned runs, as we said before, I'm happy. And then the other thing I want to see is more out of Zach Thompson, man. Really good start last time out. See if you can keep it up, man. That kid seems to be riding a pretty good wave here. So I'm excited to see more from Zach Thompson. That kid's basically coming out of nowhere, reminding me of just like another Pochi. These guys that have just like come up and just done really well. And speaking of Pochi, just as a last for me before I go, I think you may see Nick Nider come up tomorrow to make a start.
Okay.
Because,
that would be great.
Yeah, he's in line, and Poteet's making a rehab start in Jacksonville. So I think it could be Nick Nider tomorrow, if it's not the bullpen day. But yeah, that's what I want to see. We'll see how they do.
Kevin,
Okay.
first of all, I want to get to a comment in the chat, which is that our boy Daniel Rodriguez has said Luzardo no-hitter. He's putting it all on the line. He even said you heard it here first, so that means he's not joking. Okay, so he is not joking. Hold him to that. Daniel Rodriguez has predicted a Jesus Luzardo no-hitter tonight. Kevin, your predictions for this series?
I was very tempted to go 3-1, but I'm not, because the Marlins are not going to do that. They're not going to absolutely just beat the Mets 3-1. They're going to split. I think they'll win tonight. I have no idea who this other pitcher is, but now that I probably said that, he's probably going to just wipe out the Marlins.
Every time.
Yeah, tomorrow I think they'll lose. They have it to be announced. And I think they'll win the Trevor Rogers start. So I'm going to go split here,
I always say when a 4-game series happens.
And I want to see what Luzardo does, and I want to see more Brian De La Cruz, and bring back Brian Miller, please.
Yeah, I always say it's
Miller.
tough. It's tough to predict a team winning 3 or 4 games in a series, so I'm going to go with a split here. I think I'm going to be honest. I think Luzardo pitches really well tonight. Debuts always seem to go kind of well after the deadline. Guy might be pissed off. I think I just want to see him throw the ball well. Good stuff, good command. But I think he's going to pitch pretty well tonight. I think he's going to have a pretty good outing. And, I'm going to go with a split here tonight. So, all right, 7:10. First pitch is on the way for Noah, for Isaac, for Alex, for Kevin, and for Eli. I'm Ethan. We'll see you guys on Friday for the next series.
Y'all ready?